All right. Good evening. I'm Nathan Stix, Chair of the Community Activities Commission, calling to order the Newcastle Community Activities Commission meeting of December 11th, 2024. The time is 6 p.m. This public meeting is being recorded, broadcast live, and may be viewed later on the city's YouTube channel. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Amy, would you do the roll, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Forsberg.
Present.
Commissioner Van Hatta. On her way.
On her way.
Commissioner Lee is also
On her way.
okay. Commissioner D'Souza.
Present.
Commissioner Krutzinger.
Here.
Vice Chair Flash.
I am here.
Chair Stix.
I am here. Thank you, Amy. Okay. Is there any objection to approval of tonight's agenda as presented? With that, I will please show the final agenda as approved as presented. And then approval of our minutes. Is there any objection to approval of the minutes from November 13th as presented? With that, we'll show the minutes approved as presented. Hi, Kim. Since we don't have anyone in the audience, Amy, did we get any public comment requests? Am I not surprised? Okay. Commissioner comments and celebrations. Does anybody have anything they would like to share? I do.
Oh.
Sorry, Connie, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I went to the holiday market pop-up this weekend, and it was very cute. Really nice event that we enjoyed, and I'm glad that that was able to take place.
I would just like to say, with the holiday season here, how much I appreciate our commission and all of my other commissioners, and especially Amy and all the hard work that she does, not only for us, but for our public. And during the big storm, I know that she went above and beyond the call of duty to keep everybody informed of what was going on. So, Amy, thank you for that. Okay, we'll start with reports. And Amy, you want to kick off events and recreation?
Certainly. I would also like to give a shout out, I know it's not on here, to the Newcastle Arts Council, particularly to Jenny Martin, who is the creative mind behind Songs of the Season on Saturday, which is one of my absolute favorite events. Fittingly, after all the rain, the sun came out, and I'm sad I wasn't able to be there that day, but I'm glad it was a wonderful time. And likewise for Renata Emerson, who is the creative vision behind the holiday pop-up market. So I wanted to mention that. I had intended to get a social media post up today, but I don't know if you all knew, but Meta was down. So Facebook, Instagram was not postable today, so I look forward to doing that tomorrow. But I wanted to make sure we acknowledge those two folks. Okay, so back to what's on the report here. Just some notes about the volunteer appreciation. It was a great night, great turnout. Thank you all for mingling and making our volunteers feel welcome and appreciated. It was just a great overall night, and we came within $1 of the budget, so that is amazing. We ate just enough food to meet that minimum and come within budget. The Lights of Newcastle contest, the recipients are in. They are on a map. The map is going out on Friday. FedEx had been holding our very special participant lawn signs, but they finally delivered this afternoon. So our elves will go around and bring the participants their signs to display, and I'm looking forward to hearing who wins all of the fun awards.
How many people signed up?
We have 16. I had hoped, last year we had 24, so I'd hoped for more. But it was definitely, people are slower to get their lights up this year between late Thanksgiving and the power outage. I had a couple of people email and say, just let me know next year. This year is not a go. So, you know, but we can do a debrief afterwards potentially about how to better reach, particularly, you know, if we are going to have a condo, townhome, apartment category, how to reach more of those folks, and how to get the word out differently, better, more effective to get more participants. Lunar New Year celebration, just mark it on your calendars. Planning is well underway. Save the date of Sunday, February 9th. It's at Risdon Middle School again. It is the Year of the Snake, or as Councilmember Burford tells me, it's Little Dragon, basically, Year of the Little Dragon. We do have some pretty exciting entertainment lined up this year. Not only are the dragon and lion dancers coming back, we have secured funding to close out the entertainment with the Taiko drummers, who unfortunately were unable to join us because of their schedule at Newcastle Days. We are hosting them at the Lunar New Year celebration. Ed, did you want to, you're on the committee to help plan, did you want to add anything? I know we're in the initial stages, but anything?
We're looking forward to hosting the event again this year, with encouraging everyone in the public to join. It's one of the bigger events in Newcastle. Last year we had 1,200 people show up, so come early and enjoy the entertainment.
Programming wise, just want to remind people we are offering Skyhawks over the winter and then again in the spring. We are trying to see if people are interested in winter programming. I will pass out to you the flyer that Skyhawks prepares with all the programs we're offering for winter and spring. The winter deadline for registration is Friday, December 27th. And then just a reminder about our volunteer program. The next volunteer letter goes out on Friday, December 20th. So folks have been great about sending opportunities from their liaison organizations. If you have others, I mean, even if it's just with Friends of the Newcastle Library, we put in a little note, host your own book drive. And while someone didn't respond directly to them, they actually took that as an idea and went and hosted a book drive and made a big donation. So when you can, definitely share, whether it's ongoing or simply simple. We love to put in those things in that newsletter. Any questions or anything you want me to elaborate on regarding the report? Okay, so I'm going to pass this around just so you can.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, so community reports. We'll start with Miss Christian.
Hello. So, as you guys may have noticed, the chamber has been very busy over the last month, as they have been involved in a number of the holiday, to varying degrees, and a number of the holiday things that have been going on. One of the members of the chamber is Frosty Barrel, and I don't know if you've been, but Gingerbread Mania is on at Frosty Barrel, and they have turned the inside into a gingerbread house, which is pretty magical. So check that out. It's going on until January 5th, and I wanted to say thank you to the members of the chamber who participated in and helped with the first annual pop-up market, because that was pretty awesome, like Connie mentioned. And thank you to the Newcastle Arts Council as well, and Renata Emerson for having the vision and then making it happen. Can't wait for next year. And also a big thank you to chamber members and volunteers for their help with this year's tree lighting. If you see the awesome tree, that is community members, some of whom are part of the chamber, at Newcastle Fruit and Produce. If you've never attended the tree lighting, it's really fun. There's lots of different activities that happen, and it's a free event, so I would definitely recommend that. And then no updates from the Historical Society at this time.
Okay, thank you. Shally, what's going on at the Y?
A lot. I'm so excited. There's so much happening. So during Thanksgiving, the Y was able to provide 83 plus or minus 30 people with a Thanksgiving meal kit. And the kit included turkey and like other like side items. And 70% of those families were from Newcastle, which was really nice. So next is the holiday gift wrapping volunteer event. That is on Tuesday, December 17th from 5:30 to 8:30. And they will be wrapping about 500 presents for about 300 kids that have been adopted by the Y. And anyone from the community is welcome to attend and help out. The Y will be running a promotion in January with a $0 joining fee because that is their busiest time. And they are open on New Year's Day for open swim for the whole community, whether you're a member or not. Just bring your ID. And then on Friday, January 3rd, they will have a family movie night. And that's it.
Thank you. Kim, I think you saw my note that we're going to take Aegis off the list at this point.
I didn't see that, but
Okay.
I understand.
I may have thought it. Amy and I have been talking about Aegis and Regency, and maybe there's a better way for us to use your time to get that information, but we're going to take it off the plate right now. Come back and revisit that later. So, Connie, what's going on at the library?
Yes, so as always, the library has quite a few ongoing and holiday-specific events over the next couple of months, but I'll highlight one that I thought looked extra exciting. So this upcoming Saturday, the 14th, from 2 to 3 p.m., the event is Family Fun Make Candy Dreidels. You can discover Hanukkah, make a dreidel using marshmallows, Hershey Kisses, and pretzels, and learn how to play the game. All ages are welcome, and registration is not required. Okay.
Thank you. Ed, Arts Council.
Okay, so as usual, we have a bunch of things going on right now. We've kind of touched on the last weekend, and so I want to just stress that with the two events that we had over the weekend that the Arts Council hosted, the Songs of the Season and then the Newcastle Holiday Market, there were well over 1,000 participants between those two events. So great community engagement this weekend all around in Newcastle, and love to see that. This weekend, we have a packed schedule. So on Saturday in the morning, we were going to be making holiday cards at the library. And then as Connie pointed out, in the afternoon, we're going to be making candy dreidels with the community, and no registration required for those. Anybody's welcome. And then our film series continues in the evening with a showing of Vincent and Leo. So this is our series right now on Vincent van Gogh. This is the second of 3 films on that topic, and that's at Aegis Gardens at 7 o'clock. So come on by. They have a really great theater there that they open up for us for that. In January, we're going to be making beads bracelets on January 11th, also at the library. We touched a little bit about the Lunar New Year celebration on February 9th. A reminder that the Free Little Art Gallery is still available for anyone and always has a rotating art exhibit, so that's at the City Hall. Come by, drop off something, pick up something, enjoy the art that is there, and again, the display is constantly changing. And then we're making final preparations for another utility box install along Coal Creek Parkway, so that'll hopefully happen in the next couple of months. And then lastly, I'd like to thank For Culture and King County for renewing our Sustainable Arts Grant for 2025, 26, and 27. So the Arts Council will continue to have funds to provide the wonderful community engagement activities and opportunities that we do have. So thank you again to For Culture.
How much How much is that grant?
That grant is $30,000.
Pretty substantial.
Yes, that's a significant increase over what we have gotten in the past, so we're very grateful.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, general business. So first thing on our discussion list is honoring Tony Ventrella. As everybody knows, Tony was a instrumental citizen in Newcastle and volunteered on lots of different projects and was on the CAC, became a city council member, and he was the face of Newcastle. I've gotten a lot of feedback in the last month or so since he passed that wouldn't it be great for us to do something to honor him? So I wanted to just bring up a time that we could discuss some ideas, whether it's putting his name on a plaque at the park at Lake Bourne, which he loved dearly, or come up with some, definitely like a Tony Ventrella Day in Newcastle. But just wanted to bring it up for discussion. See if you guys have any ideas. Would you like to think about it? We'll bring it up again maybe in January. Give it some time. I would like to reach out to Tony's wife in the meantime and let her know that we think this is an important thing to honor him and see if she's got some ideas and just make sure she's on board with us, which I'm sure she will be.
That's my first thought, just that I would want the family to have feedback into that. And then just thinking about, the most recent park naming thing where we kind of leaned away from like a renaming, but the possibility of naming something that, structures or spaces or whatever. And so just thinking about what those ones that meant the most to Tony might be and how we could make that something meaningful.
The first thing that always comes to my mind is the stage. I mean, that always was his, he loved to get up there, he loved to do announcements, and he loved to, promote on Newcastle days. But I'm a little concerned as far as the timing, just because of the master plan with what could be happening with the amphitheater and if that stage is going to stay or not stay. But still, we can come up with some ideas and definitely move from there. Anybody else have anything they want to?
I know that the city owns a piece of property that is, there's been a lot of talk about potentially developing it into a sports complex. And I would love to see something there, but that's off in the future. So if this is something we want to do now, and we may want to just keep that in mind for a field named after Tony, if at some point we do develop that property. Not to say that we need to wait until then, but it would be, this is a yes and for me.
Great idea. Seeing how he was the sports legend that he was.
I think we've kind of explored this, but is there any guidance on specifically naming anything in the city? I mean, I know we've talked about parks, but I was thinking a street or a trail, or I know, Tony was a great walker. He loved, I would always see him walking around. So I just don't know if there's any precedent that we have around that type of stuff. But.
To be honest, I don't know offhand, other than what we have as a commission explored with the parks naming policy and then the, not disclaimers, but the bullets underneath in which, the option is to name certain features. But I don't know that offhand, but I can certainly find out and bring that back to the commission.
Okay.
And then you'll be reaching out to his wife.
Okay, so more to come on that. Thank you. So Amy, you want to go over the 2025 summer event dates?
Alrighty, in your packet, I'm trying out, if you notice that this agenda memo looks slightly different than the one I tried last month. So I'm trying out different agenda memo formats. We'll see which one resonates. But in this agenda memo, I just outlined for you and included little thumbnails of the calendar so you don't have to flip through your phones, although you definitely need glasses. So at its November 19th meeting, as you know, City Council approved the 2025 budget, which includes the funding for our 6 summer events. We have the fireworks on the lake, 4 concerts in the park, and Newcastle Days. And so from the commission tonight, I would like to get a sense of where you're thinking that you'd like to see these dates fall. Some of these we have more flexibility than others. The fireworks, I can certainly take your input, but that's going to come down to what works best for the police department and public works staff. However, we'll take that into consideration. And technically, we do have some flexibility on Newcastle Days, despite the fact that we always do it the Saturday after Labor Day. There's nothing in there that says we can't look at that. And then typically we do 4 summer concerts, July and August on a Wednesday evening. I will say that if I have to give one feedback as a staff, besides the fact that the Saturday evening fireworks works really well, it was really tight to be able to turn around fireworks and then move into that first concert. I know we bumped up, instead of doing 2 in July, 2 in August, we did 3 July, 1 in August. That in-between time was really tight to be able to turn around staff needs, but particularly hanging and taking down of the banner on Cold Creek was really challenging. Just to get King County out here and change those banners. But I will say on the other end, it was really nice to have a month between the concert and Newcastle Days. So there's my feedback. I'd love to hear yours as to what you're thinking, and then I'll bring it back to the staff and then come out with some dates.
Just to clarify, so last year was the first summer concert the Wednesday after fireworks on the lake, or was there a week buffer? 1 week buffer, oh, okay.
It was 9 days, if I'm correct.
I'd like to make a pitch for the 3rd of July for Independence Day fireworks or fireworks on the lake. Just because for the past several years, it's been a moving target. And with a moving target, it makes it hard for people to plan if it's not like Newcastle Days is always the Saturday after Labor Day. I know that that might not be possible to plan into eternity, but kind of the same argument that people have as being on a Saturday night, the 3rd is also the same. Most people have the 4th off. And so you can stay up late. People are already blowing off fireworks throughout the neighborhoods. So it's not necessarily an additional disruption. That was one of the things I heard last year was like things were just starting to get quieter. And then there was another night full of booms. So kind of trying to minimize that. And if we look at changing it permanently to the 3rd, like studying what that would look like, then there's less of that problem of like, what about the year where the 4th of July is the Saturday? Which means we're having 4th of July either a week before or a week after. And again, it just starts to feel so far separated that we start to question why we're doing it.
Next year, the 4th will fall on a Saturday.
Right, so it creates that awkward situation.
You mean 26, right? Yeah. Can we support a Thursday?
I don't know yet. I'm just getting feedback from you.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring it to staff, and then we'll come out with the best scenario. Any other feedback about the fireworks dates, and namely the concerts? I would love to hear when you would like to see the concerts happen.
Does anyone remember what the reasoning was for pulling it up into July last year?
So we didn't have to move our CAC meeting. And this year, it looks like we could have, wait, wrong month.
It would be on the 13th, is that right?
Yeah, you could do 16, 23, 30, and 6th. So you would just, unless you want to do 2 and 2. But because of how July falls this year, if you did 3 in July, you'd miss CAC in July and August.
That actually works out pretty good. And then it gives you a little more time between the fireworks and the first concert.
Yep.
You're saying July 23rd and 30th, and then August.
16, 23, 30, and then August 6th.
So if we do it on the 16, we run into the same issue we had last year, in which, because our first concert was on the 17th last year, and the fireworks was on the 6th. So I get a couple more days, but we still only have a week buffer.
Okay.
So, I mean, if people feel strongly about that, I'll bring it back, but I will say that gives us only 1 week to get the banner up for the concerts and the fireworks banner down.
Just out of curiosity, how effective do we think those banners are? I'm just wondering, because I've had people that are like, what concerts? What?
I do know that the sponsors like paying for the space.
They like it. Okay, that's,
And I do know that I've
Matters
had
then.
people reach out, having seen the banners, asking how
Good.
to get on them.
good.
The
Okay,
fact that we've
perfect.
got 10,000 cars pass, and I think it's even more than that now.
Yeah.
Passing through Coal Creek on a daily basis, it can't hurt.
Yeah, I agree. I just was wondering, because
Yeah.
when I hear people say that, I go, okay.
Yeah, and I will, to plug the survey we had last year, it was like 50% of people said they heard about it from the banner.
Okay, good to know.
So then I guess the question is, does it really throw a wrench in this commission's plans to have a summer concert the same night as a meeting? We could still have a quorum if 2 people are there and 5 are here, right?
We can also move our meeting.
We've just moved the
Oh,
meeting.
we can move a meeting. Oh, who would have known?
Let's just move our meeting. Let's move
That's
to
what I'm
August.
thinking, the same thing. And we would plan that now.
I would just say
So-
move it to the 20th instead of the 13th.
From a design standpoint on flyers.
So do 2 in July
For
and
2
then
July,
2 in
2
August?
2 in July, 2 in August.
Sure.
Yes.
And so it would be our August,
13.
thank you. We would need to move, is council going to be on that Tuesday? I don't think so, right?
So
The Tuesday before, because we could move this to Tuesday or even move it to Thursday.
yes, you can move it to another day of the week, provided it works for enough folks. You could move it to another Wednesday,
As long as it's not the 4th Wednesday.
as long as it's not the 4th Wednesday. You can certainly move it to another day of the week at another time, like at another day of the week on another week. It doesn't necessarily have to be the second week. You can also cancel meetings too. I mean, that's an option as well. Not sure that you want to, but I just want to make sure that you are aware, like you have that
Yeah.
ability to do.
Well, and our August meeting is usually pretty important because of Newcastle
Yeah.
Days, so I don't, think we would want to cancel it. I think we'd want to move it. What do you guys think as far as moving it to a Tuesday or a Thursday that week?
I normally, I can't do Tuesdays or Thursdays, ever.
Ever?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I could move it to the
So
next.
maybe Wednesday, the 20th.
I can move it on Wednesdays.
You could also move the time. I mean, that's another option. You could do it before the concert, after the concert. Well, maybe not after the concert.
Maybe not after.
Yeah, but you can also move the time.
The 20th is fine with me. Just the third Wednesday of the month?
Yeah.
I like the
Does
20th.
that give us enough time with Newcastle Days preparation? Probably. We're only talking a week, right?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
feel like a lot of the preparation is subcommittees that meet
Yep.
separately anyway.
Okay, so move our CAC meeting to August 20th from the 13th. Okay. I would like to see fireworks on the lake again on a Saturday. I like Saturday the 5th. I think we'll get probably more support from staff in doing that. I mean, just talking to the chief. Well, although, now that I think about it, his thing was about overtime for doing it on the 4th. But 3rd, you're not paying overtime. But
Well, and for Chief Kajihira too, it was also an issue of being able to focus resources where they needed to be focused on the 4th of July and not having
Yeah.
to divide resources.
If that's the case, then I think the 3rd probably makes more sense. Also, we get everybody's like freshest selves before they go out and wear themselves out on the 4th of July. So there's that. Also, not as many people will be out of town yet, so that's something to consider. People will be leaving. Some people will leave on the 3rd, but people that are more likely to be gone on the Saturday than on the Friday.
Mhm.
so we all seem to be pretty liking the 3rd.
I would prefer the Saturday, but only from the perspective that we tend to start things early on those days. And so there's still people working on Thursdays. Granted, by the time we do the fireworks, it's 10 o'clock at night, but we want people to show up earlier.
My gut reaction when Kim first said the 3rd was like, what, why? But I feel like I'm being talked into it a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with you where I feel like Saturday, I don't know why, it just feels more intuitive, but I think the points are really valid, especially with the feedback we got last year about the community members that react poorly to the fireworks, that like 2 days in a row of fireworks can feel like a lot. But yeah, I'm a little torn.
Allison, we're looking at event dates for the summer, and right now we're on fireworks on the lake, which
Okay.
there's been a proposed date of July 3rd, which is a Wednesday, or sorry, a Thursday.
Thursday.
4th is on a Friday this year. And some of us are leaning towards Saturday, the 5th. So we're
I want to be clear that the city manager is ultimately the one that sets the date, but I want to solicit input, feedback, recommendations from the commissioners to be able to help that decision along. And likewise, there was a discussion about the 4 concerts in the park.
Here's another factor, and I don't know if this plays into it or not, but the setup, I don't know what the setup time is required to put them together, but if you have the same company that's doing one on the 3rd and the 4th, I just don't know if that's logistically possible, but that's something we can work out with the vendors.
Well, yeah,
A
the
question
4th and the
asked.
5th would be the same problem, because they're gonna, any
Yes, true.
back-to-back, they're gonna
Yeah,
have.
that's true. This year.
Yeah.
And we're not doing it on the 4th, like the actual, because of police
Yeah.
staffing, but
I'm assuming that that is likely to be the case, but if there's this strong argument to be shared about doing it on the 4th, feel free to offer that, and we can bring that back.
Well, I'll also remind everyone that not doing it on the 4th is significantly more budget-friendly, not just from a police overtime, but from a fireworks, et cetera, standpoint.
I know the city of Lacey's done the 3rd for at least 10 years, and it's been very popular. And I think probably all those factors are a part of that, the price and the fact that it leaves the 4th for people to do their family thing and whatever else they want to do with their long weekends and whatnot.
Is there any feedback on Newcastle Days?
I hate to change something that is consistent and can be counted on, and also the first Saturday after school starts is really, really hard. I don't know if it's hard for anybody else, could just me, I work in the school system, but people with children, I assume it might be hard for them too.
I know that's true for me personally, and I hear that from a lot of other parents, like, oh, we just got done with the holiday weekend, also these kids just started school, right? We're all feeling a little frazzled as we get into this new routine. So sometimes they're like, oh, well, we might try to come to Newcastle Days, but then, we'll just play it by ear and see how everybody's feeling. Whereas,
Can you remind me, so when's the start of school? It's been a while.
Depends on the district. Seattle starts the Wednesday after Labor Day, and it's kind of been, Renton and Issaquah seem to be trending a little bit more to the Wednesday or Thursday before Labor Day now.
yeah, the older kids start before and then kinders start the day after Labor Day.
One of the concerns I remember hearing when kids being in school was an issue for me or for those around me, for things starting or for things occurring, like events happening before, when it's still summer break, is then people might not be around, might be wrapping up vacations or whatever too. So people might be absent. So just a flip side consideration.
I definitely wouldn't move it up. It would be more, would it be beneficial to move it later?
I wouldn't mind moving it to September 13th because then that gives CAC 2 weeks after our concerts, our meeting, to just kind of get ready for Newcastle. It is a lot, these 3 months. And then we have nothing, right, until like Halloween.
Well, the 13th allows kids to get back in school and the parents to kind of get more into that little bit of a routine. So Saturday, the 13th might be a really nice break to go out and, celebrate in the park.
Another little benefit if we did it the weekend of the 13th instead, or the 13th instead, is that would be not such a big break between this is probably the very last thing we should consider, but our last time meeting and Newcastle Days. So with it being, if we were doing, oh, never mind, I guess that doesn't fall through this year, or wouldn't for next year. I was thinking, didn't we, it kind of seems like we had Newcastle Days happen right before our meeting, which kind of felt like maybe we lost some sort of conversation or planning time. But I beg your pardon, looking at the calendar, not next year.
Is that true? Because wouldn't we meet on September 10th? And then if we did it on, it'd be 3 days later?
Right, but that would give us some time right before to chat about any logistics or anything. As opposed to having the meeting before Newcastle Days be July.
But it would be.
This time, if we do Newcastle Days on the 13th, we will have had a meeting.
Yeah.
I think this past year, we had, our meeting before, immediately before Newcastle Days, I think was in July. And then we met right after Newcastle Days.
August. So we had a
Sorry,
meeting in
yeah,
August.
Yeah,
Yeah.
August, yeah,
But yeah, this will give us an additional meeting in September,
exactly.
2 days before, 3 days before Newcastle Days, yeah.
You do lose about 20 minutes of daylight. That's the only thing that I would say. I just did that in Google. So it's a 7:25 sunset.
So do you want us to give you maybe some consensus of some dates to present to Scott?
I think I'm hearing some consensus. I can go back and look at the video for, particular, arguments one way or another in support of a certain particular date. Is there any reason not, like, people feel very strongly about the Saturday after Labor Day. Are we missing a consideration that we're not aware of, or is?
I think tradition is a big deal. So that's probably the biggest consideration. And I think to Kim's point too, of just like, if you don't look at the banner, if you don't get a newsletter, like that, like what your assumption is. So I think that's probably the main argument for keeping it on the 6th.
The longer you go into September, then the weather plays more of a factor too. So I know when we did the art fair the first year, it was on September 18th or something like that, and it did rain that day. So something to consider.
Well, if there are no other thoughts, I'll, synthesize all of it, or bring this all together and have the conversation with staff with your feedback and come up with some dates. But wanted to open it up and see what people were thinking and get that feedback on behalf of the community. So, thank you.
So let me
At this
just,
point, my only question is, what do we not know that staff might raise as a concern for changing the date? So whatever, I'd be interested to hear what you find out from the staff.
Yes, I will circle back and
Yeah.
tell you what the dates are and why those dates are set.
Because I'm on board with moving it to the 13th. Just generally, I think that's easier. It's technically also closer to our anniversary as a city.
so to quickly recap, we've talked about fireworks on the lake July 3rd, concerts on Wednesday, gosh, I can't read this, sorry.
23rd.
Thank you, 23rd, 30th, August. Thank you. And then moving our CAC meeting to the week following, so the 20th. And then Newcastle Days on Saturday, the 13th.
And I will say there were some of you who spoke in favor of fireworks on the 6th. So I want to be clear that there's some who said arguments for the 3rd, some who said arguments for the 6th. So- Oh, the 5th, yes,
The 5th.
sorry, I'm thinking,
Yep. But it seemed more people were leaning towards the 3rd. All right.
well, thank you for offering feedback on that. I think it's important to respond to what, the community needs are when we set our dates. I know tradition is important. And certainly, staffing and budget are big considerations, but we should also be listening to what the community has to say about those. So I appreciate the feedback. All right, so next up on the agenda, I would like to discuss our 2025 sponsorship program. So I have a presentation for you, and if you just give me a moment, because I need to switch the camera for the viewing public so that they can also see the screen. Right now, they're looking at you. Alrighty, so my goal is to share with you some historical trends as to where our sponsorship has been the past few years. Tell you a little bit about what I've learned about sponsorship, and then just have some fun brainstorming about what the possibilities may be, and get some feedback from you folks about what those possibilities may mean, because obviously sponsorship is a really important part of being able to fund our summer events. So I have some historical data for you, and it should be on your screens as well. If you are not able to see it, make sure your screen's turned on. So I do want to note that 2022 was a bit of an anomaly in that the city did not host events in 2020 and 2021. And I'm sure Ed and Nathan could speak to this, but there was definitely this sense of pent-up excitement and eagerness to get back into the events. So I would point out that 2022 did feel very much like an anomaly. I also want to note that 2019 was done in a slightly different way. 2019 was the 25th anniversary, and there was quite a long list of benefits that was broken down by events. And so rather than have what we currently have, which is just simple platinum, gold, silver, bronze for the entire summer, it was broken down by event. So in order to create this chart, what I did is I looked at the spending. So typically in our current structure, 2 platinum sponsors at $5,000 apiece would make $10,000. But because of the way it was broken down by event, we essentially had 2 platinum sponsors. One spent $5,000, the other one spent $4,500. But in looking across, some positive trends that I saw is that overall we've had steady sponsorship. Even in a year in 2023 where we got a late start, we managed to come very close to the budgeted income. And we have welcomed in, I'm looking at my notes here, we've had new folks come in with silver and bronze. And we had a lot of success this year converting vendors to bronze level. So people who had signed up for a tent in 2022 or 2023 at Newcastle Days, we had a lot of success turning those into $500 this year. Some things that concern me. If you notice across the board, we have fewer big money coming in. So the past couple years, we had 4 platinum sponsors. This year, we had 2. I see a lot of folks dropping from the platinum and gold level down to silver and bronze. The other thing that struck me is if you look at 2022, we had 26 sponsors. We also had 26 sponsors this year, but we had $10,000 less income. So we're doing more, we're supporting those same number of sponsors for less amount of money. So doing more work for less. Not that, I mean, I love working with our sponsors, but when you're looking at numbers, same amount of sponsors, $10,000 less. So that's where we've been. Do people have questions, observations, things that they want?
Just so everyone remembers, the bronze is 500,
Oh.
silver is 1,000, gold is 2,500, and platinum's 5,000.
So this is this year's chart. My apologies. I had intended to put that out. This is, what I'm passing out is the, what's also available on the website is the sponsorship levels for this year, the benefits and what people got, what people paid.
What do we know about the downgrades? I mean, do we have any information about why our sponsors are choosing to spend less in Newcastle right now?
Well, so one big change from last year was one of our platinum sponsors just decided not to sponsor at all. And not that we didn't try to communicate several times with them, but they just made that decision not to sponsor at all.
And I know another one switched their focus, and I think Amy's going to go into this in a little bit, in terms of how they want to spend their advertising dollars, basically, and what types of activities and value they're getting for it. So types of things that they're sponsoring.
We also had several of our larger businesses have downsizing. And so where they were able to give money in 2023, they were not able to donate anything in 2024. So they basically just dropped out of a sponsorship level completely.
So does it seem like it's more external factors, or was there any feedback at all about feeling like they weren't getting their money's worth by being a sponsor?
Internal factors within the companies themselves, yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of both, actually. So I do know, yeah, I think there was definitely a little bit of both.
I would agree with that, that the feedback I heard is a little bit of both. I mean, certainly we can't control economic factors, political factors as to why people make the decision to spend the money that they do. But there were definitely sponsors who indicated that, not that they were unhappy with what was being offered, that they were looking for, to prioritize their money in a different way. So that, particularly, I'm thinking of one platinum sponsor who dropped from 5,000 down to 500. And that was a big drop. And it's because they wanted something different out of their sponsorship dollars. And that was also like a red flag to me that maybe we need to be looking at this.
Sorry to prod, but do you know, like, any more specificity when they said different? Like, is there anything we could do differently?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah. Yep. So I'm going to get into that in this
Oh,
slide.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, there is. All right. So any other questions about our program, our numbers?
I guess the only thing that I would want to know is, are the dollars that are in the budget for next year similar to what was in the budget for this year? The city budget. So I know there's a line item in the city budget. And so just as we're thinking about the overall fundraising activities, I want to get a perspective of what the expectations are in terms of these.
You want to know how much?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 50,000. Again, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say the good news is that although we fell below the 50,000 for 2024, we well exceeded our exhibitor vendor fees. So we made up for it and then some. So that also tells me a little bit about what people are looking for as well, that they're excited to have a booth. Any other questions about this before I move on? Cool, alrighty. So looking at this and, you know, having experienced the summer, having some feedback, seeing the trends, I went to a conference offered by the Washington Events and Festivals Association in October to kind of see like, what are the trends? You know, what should we be aiming for in our sponsorship program? How can we better meet the needs, or are we already doing it? I just wanted to gain some insight and ideas and make sure that, you know, with limited staff and relying heavily on volunteers, are we doing all that we can do to meet sponsor goals, meet our budgeted revenue, and not, you know, wasting we want to use our time effectively and efficiently. So here are the trends. There's more spending happening in apparently in sponsorship, but people are very tight with their budgets. They want it spent well. There's a greater emphasis on professionalization and measurement, particularly in the era of digital and social media. You've got very savvy marketers who are looking for a really professional sponsorship program, and they're looking for data. They're looking to find out what are your metrics? How well are you doing what you say you're going to do and meeting our goals? Here's something that may resonate with us quite a bit here, is that being one of what you call a logo soup is no longer enough. And I heard that feedback pretty distinctly from a number of our sponsors. There are granted, we have a uniqueness to us in that there are a group of sponsors who sponsor because they support Newcastle, they support our events, and they feel really, really loyal to that. And so that is what drives them to sponsor. But a lot of other sponsors, you know, getting your logo on a flyer is not enough of a draw anymore. They're looking for something more than stamping your logo on. That being said, logo over Coal Creek Parkway is a draw. So did want to make that a distinction. So some tips that I came away with is that a good sponsorship program will understand guest demographics, so who's attending our events, and what makes the event special and unique. Sponsors are looking for tailored or customized sponsorships that have a lot of storytelling and emotional connection. People, if they have a great experience and associate the event very positively with the sponsor very positively, then they associate that positive feeling with the company and what the company is doing, and that drives people to buy. And then also go beyond the logos. Focus on creating what's called interactive activations. That's the official term. That on-site ability to connect with potential customers, clients, supporters. These on-site face-to-face. There's a lot of emphasis on face-to-face. Questions about that particular? So they offered some, and this is a summary of what I learned about building effective sponsorships, that it would be really good to identify what are your unique benefits, what makes your event unique. How can we define what they call customized moments of wow that surprise and delight? Anybody want to guess why customized moments of wow are important in today's age? Some of your kids may know. Those are the things that go viral. Those customized moments of wow are the ones that get posted on social media, tagged, and go viral. And so Wherever you can create those customized moments of wow, that people want to photograph and share and talk about, sponsors want to be on board. Sponsors also like co-branded digital content, so making sure you have all the graphics buttoned up, and then, of course, a lot of that's on me. But also something that's called gamification. So that's where you run contests and get people to get involved with the social media post beyond simply just viewing it. Sponsors want to be engaged. They want programs where people know about their goals and hear how you're going to measure success. They want valuable assets. They want that digital and social media. They want those on-site, face-to-face activation opportunities. Sponsors like exclusivity, and that has been the case with our sponsors. People like to be the only real estate agency, the only bank. They like that exclusivity. And then finally, when we build an effective sponsorship program, we are planning for success. So obviously, we have clear contracts with everybody that go beyond what you promise. For example, when sponsors got an opportunity to choose their booths, they got to choose well ahead of time of the rest of the event. Oh, excuse me. When the vendors, let me back up. When the sponsors got an opportunity to choose when to load in their booths at Newcastle Days, I offered that well ahead of when I offered it to the all the rest of the exhibitors. So I told the sponsors, you're our sponsors, you have first choice, and then we're opening it up to the rest of the, 50 or so people to load in. You get your first choice as sponsors. So offering that sort of little extra that isn't in the contract, that isn't labeled as a benefit, but offering those moments of going beyond is something that sponsors really appreciate. Well, everybody appreciates. And then certainly celebrating afterwards with thank you notes, sending photos, testimonials, letting them know that they're appreciated. And that is something that we do, and we do well. Questions about that? All right, cool. So this is where we can maybe have a little fun and maybe brainstorm and throw out some ideas. I'm not necessarily saying we have to rethink our package, but this is the time of year that if we're going to, we might as well entertain it and think about it. I want to know, are we doing the best we can for our events? Making our events as unique and fun and special for the community, as well as, things that sponsors want to get involved in. So I have 3 questions for you, and I'll give you an example of each. I'd love to brainstorm what are the event assets where sponsors have opportunity for on-site activations. So there's a lot of lingo there. So what are the things, and the things can be physical, but they can also be time, that we have at our events where sponsors have the opportunity to be face-to-face with potential clients, customers, or nonprofit supporters. One asset that came up last year that we did not utilize that has been utilized in the past, fireworks booth space. We have not offered a lot of booth space at the fireworks, and that is something people want. So that's an asset. Time on the stage would be an asset. So that's one example where I'd love to brainstorm if you have ideas. Another would be, are there ways to enhance guest experience and or solve a problem? So are there things that are happening at our events that are issues we'd like to solve? One of the things I thought of was at the fireworks event as well, we had a lot of lost kids, right? How can we solve that problem without me running to the stage? And I saw that, those wristbands that you get, people write their phone numbers on them. So if there is a sponsor that can host a booth where parents are coming, getting a branded wristband, City of Newcastle, we'll use that as an example. City of Newcastle wristband at the City of Newcastle booth. They write their parents' phone number on there. So lost kid goes to the booth, the police booth, and the police say, oh, there it is. We're going to call them. Nobody has to go to the stage. Problem solved. Sponsor opportunity. And then finally, this is my favorite. How are there ways that we can make an emotional connection for both our guests, community members, and our sponsors by creating moments of wow? And again, an example I thought of was at the fireworks. And I thought of this because of Shali's daughter. We had the plunger. The plunger was stored at our booth the entire time to then bring up on stage for the raffle that the scouts do. And it just was there, and then we all took pictures with it. And I thought, well, gosh, wouldn't it be great if a sponsor hosted a photo booth and we get a backdrop of fireworks and there's the plunger and everybody can go over to the X-Bank booth and take their picture, and that goes viral, and that's super cool. I don't want to take away from things that are already done, like the Scouts have that fundraising raffle. We rely on them in many other ways. I would never want to take away from that, but how can we enhance that? So with that said, and a couple of examples, I would love, anybody have any ideas for, event assets? At our events, are there places, things that we offer where we could potentially partner with a sponsor?
Well, I'll just say, I think all of those you just listed are lovely ideas. So I really appreciate the brainstorming, Amy. That's like a good way to get our wheels spinning. I do wonder too, I think good point that the fireworks have an opportunity to have more vendors. That is super well attended. And I think even in the lead up to the fireworks, part of the reason why there probably is a lot of lost kids is because there's a lot of time too, right? So you're running around, you can eat, but then something that's like an activity to keep you interested could be really great too. Because I know the playground gets just mobbed because that's what everybody's trying to do is just get the energy out before there's something to see. So yeah, I just wonder if there could be something that's an activity, and I think there's plenty of different activity options that there could be, but like something that a sponsor would be excited to do and kind of the lead up to the main event. Ooh, or what if, thinking about the concerts now, like pivoting a little bit, I know platinum sponsors already have, like they're on the banner above the concert for all the events, but what if there was like a higher tier where like one of the concerts could be like solely sponsored by somebody? So like this is the concert, this is the, the waste management concert, and next week we have the something else, and so it's like a little more specialized instead of just all four.
So here's a couple of suggestions. You brought up the concerts. What if we offered up the ability to play a song or a set with the band? And it could be simply something as the cowbell, right? Or, the tambourine or whatever the band picks or chooses. The other thing is that the Scouts sell the glow-in-the-dark things. Well, all that, anything that, there's plenty of opportunities to do branded stuff, right? And the fact is that someone's gonna buy it because they're at the event, they're gonna support the Scouts, they're not gonna really care, that they're probably gonna throw it away when they get home. So they're not going to really care whether it's branded or not, but it gives an opportunity for a sponsor to do that. And there's probably other opportunities around giveaway things that we could offer the audience and the crowd.
I like that. Go ahead.
I think the T-shirt is an opportunity for somebody to sponsor one that's like available to the crowd at large, because we got so many questions this year about our volunteer T-shirts. And I think that's a missed opportunity for people to be able to win or buy or something. But that could have a single logo opportunity, right? The volunteer ones could have all of the logos, but then for the public, that could be a branded opportunity. I don't know exactly how that would work, but, and if you want to make it interactive, if the sponsor wanted to do something like put a QR code or something scannable on the T-shirts and then make just one different and do some kind of like QR code scavenger hunt, kind of like a virtual Where's Waldo sort of. I don't know. These are the things that come out of my brain with not a lot of extra thought.
As Kim will know from teaching, that is the essence of brainstorming, just throw it all out.
I like the idea of the photo ops. Because everyone loves a good photo op. And maybe not play with the band, but at least you and your friends go up on stage and like pretend to play an instrument and get a picture. Or anything that's themed, right? Like the plunger. That was such a fun picture, and it was just sitting there. Like, I can imagine so many kids would love to just get a photo with the plunger. So I guess photo ops, yeah, with the theme of the
branded fireworks with the plunger photo background idea, I'm in love with that. That's a great idea.
And I think, like, to your point about viral moments and stuff, I think there's a lot that you can do that's like low effort, high reward with like a hashtag campaign, and the sponsor like picks the best photo of the night or something like that, and that person's a winner. But like, there's a lot of like easy ways to get engagement on social media through things like that.
That speaks to the gamification element too, that idea of, the best photo, the competition nature of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like they do at the, it used to be the Mariners games or whatever, there'd be like would have a hashtag thing, and they then put the pictures up on the, you could, for the concerts, do a picture of the night, and it could be sponsored by whatever, whoever, that could be part of the sponsorship. They get to be the such and such business picture of the night, and it's shared on social media the next day or on the business's stories, or however they want to use it.
We could offer up raffles and have sponsors own that, whether it's giving away something that they want to give away or it's a gift card or something, but that way we can get up on the stage and promote. They have the sponsor come up and say, this is being sponsored by, this business, and could be an easy way for them to promote that. And then with the raffle tickets, that gives us even more ability to interact with people. And how do we give out the raffle tickets, and what are we giving them out for, and how do you get them?
So there's various different areas of the parks role. So we all know the chamber does the beer garden. So somebody could do the bouncy houses or the blow-ups, or we could designate this is the playground area for the day of whatever organization or company. So designating different areas. The other thing I wanted to bring up is so Nathan and I love going out and getting sponsors, but we're volunteers. And so I don't know if we want to think about expanding that group of people that actually go out and solicit sponsors. We hit about 100 or so different organizations each year, and that certainly covers the Newcastle area, but we want to think about going beyond Newcastle. if there's other businesses that would want to invest in Newcastle in that way. That's something we haven't really explored to any great extent beyond just the immediate area. So there's an opportunity there as well if we want to expand our scope.
Is there a way for us to access and use business license data to go, I hate to say go after business license holders in the area to ask about sponsorship? Is that something that might be feasible? We have, I mean, if you look at Google Maps, for instance, in my neighborhood, despite the fact that you're not supposed to be running a business out of your home, there's got to be at least 5 or 6 businesses listed. Can we not use, is there not data that we could use someplace to approach businesses to say, hey, we see you have a business, would you like to invest in Newcastle? Here's some ways that you can do it. And I have no idea whether data is available or accessible.
It is, and in fact, that's how we get the list of brick and mortar that Ed and Nathan have approached. That's how we get the updated data, so there is. The trend has been more towards what Ed and Nathan are suggesting, where less is more. And it might be something to consider in that you're all volunteers. And if you are supporting this effort, to be very targeted and not go after everybody, but go after specific folks who would be a good match. So yes, the data is available. It can be used. You may or may not want to use.
Yeah, I understand feasibility is not necessarily there.
The only thing I'll add is in the 4 years that I've been doing the going out and talking to the sponsors is it's all about relationships. It's all about building the trust. And it takes time because you can't just drop off the packet, have a quick powwow. It's a follow-up and then another follow-up. And what happened last year, Ed and I both found, I think, the fact that a lot of the relationships that we thought we had started to change for many different reasons, and most of them out of our control. There was nothing that we could have done except if we were offering up some different opportunities, which is what we're trying to do, right? Is come up with some ideas to make it a renewed reason why they would want to, I always call it WIFM, what's in it for me, to get more out of their time and their money. So these are good, great ideas.
Amy, I don't know exactly how this would work since our events are free to the public, but perhaps a sponsor or sponsors, especially each of the fireworks and concerts events, would maybe want to sponsor like a VIP experience of some sort? Because that's definitely would be, good on the social medias, and people like to be VIPs, so that is not a fully formed idea, but it's an idea.
And the takeaway from this thing that you went to is basically sponsors want to feel special and extra special, right?
I think that was a takeaway. But also what struck me is the emphasis on the face-to-face. And maybe that's a post-COVID thing, but the face-to-face. Whereas, I mean, just a few years ago, people were fine with just, yep, I'll just sign the contract, write a check. We'll have some nice conversations back and forth. the, even just in the past couple of years, the change over to wanting that face-to-face time is very different. And wanting to know how they're spending their money.
But it goes down to what Nathan said, right? Building relationships, and that's really what they want to do, right? You're likely, if someone asks you face to face a question, you're going to respond, or you're going to say yes, more likely than if you read it in a magazine or see it on a billboard. So they want to build that relationship with their customers and their constituents, just as we want to do that with our sponsors.
Well, I'll give you a good example. So, Tony at the Garage has been a great sponsor and supporter of our events. But this last year, we sweetened the deal a little bit with the bringing back the car show. And he was so excited about not only having a booth, and being able to drive his business, but also to be one of the major sponsors of almost every award I think we gave out. So those are the kind of things that we can get him excited. We can get other sponsors excited about new opportunities. So, some great ideas.
So yeah, what about a more tailored experience like that? Like, rather than having, if you think of the logo soup the same, I'm thinking about the concerts because I did the announcements at a couple of them. It was like list soup, right? I just read all their names at the end of the announcing the concert. And so, like, what if those spaces, like the evening concert at Newcastle Days, sponsored by a specific business, those awards, the individual concerts, like, there's an opportunity to be named and then have a VIP section or have a, and it's just a space, but, something that's a little bit more direct. And I like the idea of like, yeah, the pony rides so they're specifically naming the thing and it could be a little bit more targeted to who potentially their audience is. So like if one of your primary customers is families with young children, you're going to want to go for the bouncy house. And if you are an auto shop, you want to go for the car show. And it gives a little bit more high visibility in those very specific targeted places.
Yeah, I like the idea of the kid one. It could be like Kid Zone sponsored by, we've never done that before, and I think that would be really cool.
So this is an ongoing conversation. Definitely, if you have ideas, brainstorms, feedback, feel free to send them via email. I'm going to take all of this and kind of synthesize it together. Also, figure out what is reasonably possible, and bring back, at the very least, to Ed and Nathan a proposal for discussion, so that we can continue moving this forward and, do some fun things and meet our budget, maybe exceed our budget, and give everybody a better experience. And I'm sure Ed and Nathan, if anybody wants to join them, and I'm not volunteering because you haven't set up subcommittees for 2025 because you haven't finished your work plan, but should they be the ones helping out with sponsorship, I'm sure they'd appreciate some support.
Yeah, and I would try and think outside the box. So we know we do things now and we do them well, but if there's other things that we could be doing that would specifically bring in sponsors or that would tailor to a specific sponsor, let's throw that out there too in terms of adding to the events.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Next on our agenda is our 2025 work plan. So you all have a copy in front of you. Hopefully you've taken some time to think these through. I think we all agreed at our last meeting that we like the content of what we've got, but maybe it needs a little bit of wordsmithing or simplification so that we don't have duplication. And just as a reminder, this is our strategy for how we proceed with our all of our efforts. They're not actions, so they're not going to be the specific things that we're going to do to accomplish these, but more of the overarching strategies to help support our strategies. Okay, it's kind of redundant. So, first strategic direction, foster a connected Newcastle community through equitable engagement. What I heard at our last meeting was maybe that was a little wordy and we could simplify it. Christian?
To that end, Matt, I think that's a good overall description of what we go on to talk about in the bullet points within that. So, I would say we call strategic direction number 1, connect. And then we move this as the header above the bullet points, like the descriptor above the bullet points. That'd be, and I think we should do that for each of them. Make the strategic directions, the label, one word, then the description, put it as the header over the bullet points.
I like it. Could be connect, engage, celebrate.
I had appreciate on the last one, but celebrate I like better.
Well, I'm going to go back to sometimes we don't want to necessarily celebrate what happened in the past as much as acknowledge. So I think that was why they had the word of appreciate or acknowledge or, appreciate. Like,
Appreciate.
Noted. But what if it would be okay to have 2 words, like connect community and stimulate and get your creative engagement and celebrate and appreciate.
I was feeling like the one word is powerful, but if you feel like you need more than one.
I like the one word.
Yeah.
It's simple, and it really, you can add the 2 or more words in the main entry with the bullets underneath it. I love that.
And if it all started with the same letter? Just be,
Best of luck to you figuring that one out.
I can use a thesaurus. I'll find synonyms. The 3 C's.
Okay, so under the first one, it would be connect is strategic direction number 1. And then how would you say the sentence to introduce the bullets? Just what it says, foster a connected Newcastle community through equitable engagement, and then just list the bullets?
I mean, that's as far as I got with this idea, yes, I think, but yeah, that's basically what I thought. I thought we were just going too far in the initial description, like that was doing too much on its own. It's a good description. I don't disagree with the description, I just think we can move it over and make it the header, because it's saying what we want to do, and then the bullets underneath it are saying how we plan to do that, so. Yeah.
Do you want to eliminate?
I just want to, if we're using this document, right? I want to just move this over here, put it over the bullet points, right? As a header or, the topic, and then just get rid of it and call this connect, if that makes sense. And that's really, for me, solves the problem of like clarifying the strategic directions like a little more easily as to giving a really clear idea of initially of what it is trying to do. And then if somebody says, well, what does that mean? Well, you go over here and you read the header, and then that tells you what it means. And they're like, well, how are you going to do that? And that's what the bullet points are for. So that was my suggestion. That's my suggestion. we can hash it out.
But, and make this less wordy. Like this, like I wanted to change foster, connect in Newcastle to build community through equitable engagement. Like, just make it shorter. While
Yeah.
also adding your one.
So that would introduce the bullets.
But
Say it again.
build community through equitable engagement. Or something like that, just shorter.
I don't remember. Can anybody tell me, have we specifically used Newcastle Community through these headers? Like Newcastle Community as opposed to our community, or even just an implied community? Like, did we specifically, and so trying to thinking about Sally's recommendation for build community, is there a reason why we specifically used Newcastle Community on a couple of these in the past?
I don't think so, but I think that may have limited, right, the overall, why is it just Newcastle? Could be, because we have a lot of surrounding neighborhoods and that are other cities.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if we use that suggestion, are we losing something? And I'm not saying that there is, but are we losing something by dropping Newcastle Community or Newcastle?
I think dropping Newcastle is not a bad idea.
I
And make
think-
it our.
I think we have the foundational principle down below where we say Newcastle community, so being that that's kind of our foundational principle, we probably have it covered.
I feel like it would do the opposite.
And I don't think Newcastle community is defined by geography. Right, so it's, you know, who goes shops at our businesses and who goes to our schools and who, you know, frequents through, who drives by on Coal Creek Parkway as part of our Newcastle
And who
community.
comes to our celebrations?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
But I do know that, you know, where Risden and Hazelwood are located, it's Renton, people who live in the city of Renton and people who live in the city of Bellevue and Newcastle. And I know that I have friends who are like, oh, we're not coming to Newcastle Days because it's for Newcastle, but we don't live in Newcastle. And so I feel like we lose some of the people in Renton and Bellevue, even though they're right here, because we say it's for Newcastle. Is that,
I'm going to play devil's advocate to that.
Okay.
So it's interesting how people feel nowadays about different things that happen. It's like, oh, you said Newcastle Days. Well, we don't live in Newcastle. So, but people go to Renton River Days, and they're going to go to Renton River Days because that's the name of the event. Yes, it happens to be in Renton, but it's their, what's the word? It's their, exactly. It's what it stands for, not where it is, it's what it stands for. So I would hope that people would go, it's just a fun event. I mean, there's going to be all these things that we can do there, not because it's called Newcastle Days. I mean, I would hope people would hopefully get over that.
oh, but when I say, oh, well, don't you know about this? And do you want to sign up? Like, it's on the Newcastle Facebook or Newcastle City, like, go to the website. And they're like, oh, we don't get the newsletter. I don't live in Newcastle. And I'm like, you can still come. But
Well, you're doing the
It's-
right thing, trying to tell me you don't have to live here.
it's just interesting that,
I like the idea of
Well,
keeping it
nobody's
in
looking
the,
at this other than us, but.
yeah, I like the idea of keeping it in the foundational principle, and taking it out of the descriptions, et cetera. I mean, our ever-changing Newcastle community, to me, means the surrounding areas as well. But I understand different people view that very differently, because, I mean, it also depends on what we're talking about, right? Like, who's showing up, who's participating, who are our friends and neighbors, people from the very surrounding areas, right? 'Cause
Yeah, so I feel good about number one, right? So we're saying connect, we like build community through equitable engagement. Do we need to look at those 3 bullets and just make sure we don't want to make any changes to those before we move on to number 2?
Take it away.
My only thing that I was thinking about as I was looking at these, I was like, really, why do we even have numbers 1 and number 2? Like, I feel like, A, I feel like this microphone's really loud, but B, I also feel like there's kind of some intermingling here in terms of, or maybe it's just that these bullet points aren't exactly where I want them to be, but I felt like, could we say it in 2 bullets or 2 strategic directions? That we're encouraging engagement and camaraderie, and then we're celebrating and appreciating? And that's it? Like, what distinguishes 1 from 2?
Sorry, so you don't mean the first 2 bullet points in number 1? You
No, I
strate-
mean the
you
first 2
Oh,
directions.
Okay.
I'm like, as I look at them and think about them, I'm like, I feel like they're saying a lot of the same things.
I think you're right. And I feel like we went back and forth on this last year a little bit too, of like, do you remember that? Of like, what are the differences here? So I'm just trying to think, like, when it comes to connecting, maybe we just need to be a little bit more specific that it's about bringing together community members. We do talk about diverse communities in this one. It's about like the connecting of people within the community. And so maybe we just need to parse out what else is listed there. And then that number 2 is more about like volunteerism, and like being creative. So I think we talk about the arts in that one. We talk about third spaces. I can see why those are 2 different things. I just don't know that we do a good job explaining it.
So for me, connect means connect to people who are like totally not even on our radar, basically. I mean, for the most part. And engage means that these are people that are identified, right? And maybe show up for things, but like are being not engaged on like a deeper level. So they're not just off the radar entirely, but we're not doing a good job of drawing them in to really participate. So that for me is the difference between those 2.
See, and yes, and I feel like that's where I was like, well, maybe should the volunteerism move up if we were to keep that 1 and say connect? Moving volunteerism up to that is one of the ways, because if I think about it otherwise, I'm like, well, what is the CAC doing or have we done other than volunteerism to help connect people? Like, even though we host the concerts, but y'all can sit wherever you want, and there's no like meaningful engagement other than what people do for themselves. So like I would put those under like, we're gonna throw some events out there that are creative and fun and whatever, and we hope you'll attend, would be the number 2. I'm looking at that more as that, or fireworks. It's fun. We're amongst our community, you see other people you know, but like the volunteerism is really how we're trying to connect people and help them to get to know each other, and otherwise we don't really do a lot with that right now.
I agree that promoting volunteerism could be moved to strategic direction number one. I think it would fit in there.
Yeah, because everything else is about the arts and the culture, community art. So like ways that we can enhance our environment or provide for creative outlet or expression. And then number 3 is just our physical space and our awesome people that we recognize.
So I think one thing under the second bullet, under the first strategic direction, we should change the word engage to connect. Then it fits with connect. Then we don't get confused with saying something that actually would make more sense under number 2. So I like moving the first bullet under strategic direction number 2 up to number 1. That definitely makes more sense. I personally like 3 strategic directions just because it gives us a little more, I don't know, flexibility. But again, if you think about the purpose behind this, right? This is what's going to drive all of our efforts and making sure that we're staying on track with what the mission of this commission is supposed to be.
I like 3. It's a nice number. It feels like with 2, you're missing something.
Yeah, now I'm trying to think about 2. So if we look about, if only the bottom 3 bullets are left in number 2, we're saying opportunities to offer and promote arts, culture, and historical preservation. We're exploring third spaces. We're exploring opportunities to enhance community art. Is that engage?
What
Or
about
is it
develop?
explore?
Yeah, I don't.
Develop,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think that's engage anymore.
No, I was thinking like what, because appreciate is like what we have. But then what about what we want to create? So whether it's creating art, it's creating spaces, it's creating a new park, it's creating a new trail, it's creating so like where do we have space to develop and expand? So whether it's people or physical things.
I like expand in number 2. Bye-bye, explore. Change to expand and or develop, whichever is more appropriate. But yes. Expand tends to be more, develop sounds so much more concrete and like we're gonna have to actually do something which we may not end up being able to do, right? Expanding opportunities and possibilities, for me, is way more in the vein of figuring out what those could be and making recommendations.
What about explore?
Yeah, explore.
I like
That's-
explore.
That's very broad.
Mhm.
I wrote to change this whole stimulate creative engagement camaraderie to inspire creativity and connection through events and activities.
I think we're saying that that's not really what this is
Right.
anymore, because this is about like, I actually think we should swap just the order, because I think we connect, we appreciate, and then this explore is almost the like, it's how we're pushing ourselves to continuously think outside the box. Like the whole conversation we just had with Amy about like, how could we do more? How could we be better? What else does the community want?
Yeah.
I think that's what this is.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. So now we need our, kind of our introductory sentences for 2 and 3. Is,
Feels like number 3 is still fine. Celebrate and appreciate Newcastle community. That's
easy, right? I
But-
agree. Yep.
number 2 now would be more to I mean, we have explore for 3 of the bullet points. So explore the opportunities and needs and opportunities within our community. I don't know, what would,
How about for, the third spaces one, how about identify? Partially because that's what we're doing by our spreadsheet. Okay,
I
that's
think you
fair.
can say how to identify.
I like explore needs and opportunities within our community. Or maybe,
As the heading.
watch for opportunity, watch is a wrong word, that's too, but like something about opportunities for, because there might be opportunities that come up for culture, or we meet an artist, or like opportunity, it's just being that mindful.
Maybe the header needs to be identify engagement opportunities. Well, more words than that, but that's the starter.
Yeah, and it's not just engagement, like we're even identifying, like, we might be looking at opportunities for spaces, we might be opportunities for the park, we might, opportunities for, so it's
Engagement and
like
community
putting all,
enrichment.
something that's kind of all of those pieces that could potentially come across our desks, if you will.
I- So identify opportunities for community engagement and enrichment. Because when we come across cool things, I feel like third spaces are a huge enrichment to a community, so that's
Well,
why.
I'm even thinking about like our natural spaces, like trails or parks or, you
Yeah.
know, like how do we make sure that we're not excluding, like right now, we don't really have anywhere other than the one, places we already have. But there's nothing, like our community assets, but there's nothing about expanding or exploring opportunities for.
I think that needs to be honest, a bullet that's added to this section is something along exploring, expanding, identifying something about our natural assets. I'm not saying it well right now, but
yeah, I think that's a good call, because yeah, that all rolls up together. Third spaces, art, culture, historical preservation, and the trails in some way. So it's just, do we want to include the trails in that list in the second bullet? Arts, culture, trails, and
Yeah.
historical preservation?
Totally agree.
parks and trails.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's in the third bullet. Explore possibilities for third spaces, parks and,
We're just gonna add to the second bullet. So,
second bullet.
promote arts, culture,
Okay.
historical preservation activities, and
Parks and trails.
Give it its own bullet, so that we're not getting that sentence to be so huge that like, and that's quite focused, that it's arts, culture, and preservation, and then. Yep. Second bullet, or a new bullet, that, so that we leave the arts alone, and they have their own space. But it can say the exact same thing.
Explore
Explore
possibilities for
yeah.
parks and trails.
Yes. Would say it as explore opportunities to develop parks and trails. That would maybe be, because,
To develop and enhance.
there you go.
Say that again, Kim?
Explore opportunities to develop and enhance our parks and trails.
So we still need an introductory statement for number 2, which is actually number 3.
I still like explore needs and opportunities within our community.
Explore needs and opportunities. In our community. Okay.
I'm still tied to identify community engagement and enrichment opportunities.
I'm just not sure that's what this is anymore, though.
Yeah, so then
I thought we switched to explore.
We changed it to explore. Yep.
I think number 1 is the engage one.
What about explore? I'm wordsmithing and I'm also a very slow Loris right now, so. Explore like opportunities to enhance, like if you think about if you go to an arts thing, you're enhancing yourself. You go on a trail, you're enhancing, like, these are like,
Community offerings? What are they?
yeah, I mean, like, you know, you read Newcastle Greet magazine, everybody says what, they love the parks and the trails, you know, like, it's, and the summer concerts, and so it's like enhancing,
Explore
Or
community enhancement opportunities.
yeah, it's like lifestyle, right? Like, all this stuff is kind of lifestyle stuff, it's, it's what makes Newcastle livable, and it makes it different than Kent. That different than Kent. Yeah, something about just the life, it's like the quality of life stuff about our city.
Okay, how about explore, what did you say, explore opportunities to enhance our community,
Quality of life.
our community's quality of life?
Is that too big?
instead of news.
That's the thesaurus right there.
Strengthen is to, that, like, that's, we can't make that, that's not a measurable verb, right? Yeah, we're not. But they really are quality of life issues, like, this is the niceties stuff. Yeah, we have dog waste bags on our parks. It's quality of life. You don't have that everywhere.
But if you keep it a little more general, then you can fit anything underneath it that you want.
Explore needs and opportunities to enhance our community.
Well-being, see, that's what I was just looking at.
I think he's just saying that you leave it broader if you just say to enhance our community.
But is that too broad?
Just a reminder to use the microphones. You really can't hear, even in the back of chamber. And also a reminder that everything comes back to your ordinance. So like, as you're grappling with some of these big picture wording issues, like, go back to your ordinance that gives the CAC its authority as a commission. And then also, keep in mind that there are subsequent meetings should you need to wordsmith just one thing.
Maybe just putting a pin in that. Quick question. So we have explore possibilities for third spaces. Are we moving beyond just exploring the possibilities next year? Or are we still just in the explore possibilities phase? Are we like provide a recommendation? Like what's the next step?
Possibly, I think it's at least explore and analyze.
That's exciting.
I think this is probably a good point to just go look at our charter, yes, or go look at our,
Yeah.
you know, and
Let's
sleep on
rewrite
it.
what we have. We'll send it out. That's appropriate, right, Amy? And then come back for our January meeting, ready to basically finalize it, and then we approve it. Are you guys good with that?
Do we need a volunteer to rewrite?
I'll look at Amy to,
If someone's volunteering to do so, that would be fantastic.
I'll do it.
That would be amazing.
thank you, Connie.
The document should be in the SharePoint folder, but should you need help locating it, let me know. And keep in mind that this is on YouTube, so I have my notes, Nathan has his notes, folks have their notes, but it's also on YouTube, so.
So I can help you with that if you'd like.
And we can share our notes with each other in an email, because we already, as long as we aren't discussing stuff we didn't talk about yet. Because as long as the stuff we talked about here, it can be an email. Yeah, a recap.
Okay, so we feel good about where we are with it right now? I do, thank you.
Way better.
Very good, good ideas, and I appreciate you guys taking some time to think about it and come prepared. Amy, do we have any public comment? I didn't think so. Okay, so next thing on our planning calendar is our next CAC meeting will be on Wednesday, January the 8th. Before I adjourn this meeting, I want to wish everybody a happy holiday and a safe holiday and a happy new year. I know we'll be talking to each other with updates with this, but I just wanted to say all that. And with that, there's nothing further. I will call our meeting adjourned at 7:58 PM. Thank you.